Okay, so this is lesson 2 for our principles of geology and our finals. Uh, so for last lesson we discussed about glaciers, where it can be found, and the formation and the landforms that it is formed. Now we will go to the opposite, um, the not necessarily opposite, but possibly opposite side of the spectrum. We are now at the deserts. So deserts are these are barren area of land where there is little precipitation, and consequently living conditions are hostile for plant and animal life. Same with the glaciers. Found in arid and semi-arid regions, and sometimes caused by rain shadows, which where the phenomena is will be discussed later, and can be divided into two. We have the cold deserts, which are cold and dry, hot deserts, which are hot and dry. So the dry portion is really uh, really consistent. Okay, so these are the distribution of deserts based on climatological conditions. So we have the arid and semi-arid. We have here the temperate portion, middle latitudes, and the low latitudes. And mainly, the largest deserts can be also found in the low to middle latitudes. Okay, so this is the Sahara Desert, and a good example of a hot desert, also featuring the dunes. And we have here the Gobi Desert, or a good example of a cold desert in Mongolia. And then these are the distributions of deserts, another example of the distribution of the deserts. Take note this portion where usually these are caused by rain shadows, or it can be of a climatological feature of our winds. Okay, so our winds also cause deserts. Okay, so we have here our westerlies and our trade winds, where it is mainly caused by your Coriolis effects and your currents of the sea. So anyway, if you would observe the last slide, the photos, they are actually most of the deserts are distributed on the western portion of the continents. This is because the winds actually goes on these portions are actually going towards the west. Okay, the problem with the westward motion of the wind is actually that the most of the moisture is dropped on the portions of the continents that were first closest to the sea, or the source of the moisture. And when it goes towards the more westwards, a lot of the moisture is lost in the portions near the sea, wherein the loss of moisture is the textbook textbook description of an arid or a semi-arid environment. Therefore, it makes the western portion of the continent desert-like, or arid or semi-arid. Okay, so that is another cause. Deserts are also caused by wind distribution, and also this is an example of um, a good illustration of your of how a rain shadow occurs. Okay, so we have warm, moist air coming from the sea. As it climbs up the mountain, the heavy and the moist air is are actually uh, prevented from going to the other side. Therefore, rain is induced in this part of the area. And then when the wind is going to the other side, it becomes dry. Therefore, the moisture is lost somewhere over here. And this is why behind large mountains are actually very arid environments, or large mountains, or rather, large mountain ranges are arid, envi- uh, arid or semi-arid environments. Okay, so this is a example of a rain shadow. So a good example rain uh, of the rain shadow is actually in the Himalayan mountain ranges, wherein we have here the Himalayan mountains. If you can see in the south side, which is India, in Bangladesh portions, these places are actually very much fertile grounds, pretty much green. And when you go to the other side of the Himalayan mountains, we have here a very quite arid environment, despite that they have water over there, but the air carrying the moisture is not really moist, preventing some fertile grounds. So this is a good example of a rain shadow effect at the Tibetan Plateau. So desert characteristics. Uh, we have the moisture, which is where evaporation usually exceeds the precipitation in deserts. We have the bodies of water, where the sources of water are actually coming from outside the desert, and temperature, which is either too hot or too cold. If it's too hot, evaporation exceeds the precipitation. If it's too cold, uh, temperatures are preventing water to be evaporated. And then we have soil, also, which is high in mineral matter and low in organic matter. The portion of the soil that is high in mineral matter, it is because organic high in mineral matter and low in organic matter is that um, there it is arid, wherein your biological activities are in the minimal conditions. That's why we have or low in organic matter, and high in mineral matter, wherein mainly in arid environments, weathering is more on the physical side than on the chemical or the biochemical portion. Then, so weathering is due to the lack of moisture. The force of weathering is greatly reduced. Principally, weathering in deserts are of the mechanical weathering. And okay, so these are the agents of weathering in the deserts. Despite the fact that it is an arid environment, still the number one weathering agent, erosional agent in deserts water. Is actually water, where ephemeral streams, creates channels to rocks or the interior drainage or crevices or the cracks, and also a rather uh, relatively minor weathering agent of erosion is you have wind, which is usually picking up the winds and uses it as an abrasive to solid rocks, uh, which is called sandblasting. And also we have temperatures. So in weathering, in deserts are usually hot days and cold nights. So we have the minerals that expand and contract unequally, basically because this is due to their different chemistries, and this is called thermal stress or thermal expansion. And ice. So in cold deserts, on cold nights, um, usually when water is locked inside the rocks, when it freezes, it expands, causing joints to enlarge and then release when it melts. So this is called the frost wedging